So I've had a lot of questions recently about recruiting with social media. And when we talk about recruiting with social media, what we're discussing is posting your survey link into a group on LinkedIn or Facebook to have the respondents in those groups answer your survey questions. And you can do this with a qualitative study, or you can also do it with a quantitative study. But there's some things that you need to consider as you go through and do your recruiting with either one of these sites. First of all, in Chapter 3, you're going to have to talk about your rationale, okay, and give some details around the target population and accessing them through LinkedIn or through Facebook. First of all, you need to support the use of either LinkedIn or Facebook as an acceptable means of accessing a target population. So you need to look at existing research that used LinkedIn or Facebook to access an audience. If the study was done on a target population similar to yours, that's great. If you are accessing a target population across the United States and that study also used LinkedIn or Facebook to access a target population across the United States, that's good as well. You want to look for a study that has high validity and reliability statistics and also a high sample size, and that will help provide rationale and justification for your use of that social media site. You do want to talk about the size of the target population. So for my study, I started with 4 instructional design groups on LinkedIn, and I went into each of those groups to find out how many people were members of each of the groups, added them up, and I ended up having approximately 89,000 potential respondents in my target population from those 4 groups. And you can talk about this by saying that if there are an estimated 89,000 participants based on the target population, the membership of these groups, if I get a 1% return of 890, then that I will be able to achieve my sample size of 128. So you want to talk about how many people are included in the target population and how that relates to your sample size. You will need to discuss the privacy policies for each of the social media sites, particularly in your ethical considerations section. Okay, so protecting confidentiality of all of your participants, this is where you would bring in a discussion of the privacy policies. You also need to acknowledge that there are limitations that come with recruiting through social media. It is okay that it is a limitation, and if you take the time to acknowledge it, that's even better. Think about things like, if you are recruiting through a social media site, your potential participants have to have internet access, they have to have a LinkedIn or Facebook account, and they have to be part of the groups that you are going to be posting your link to. And then you also have to acknowledge the fact that there are some participants that won't be able to answer your survey because they might not access that social media site during the time that you're doing recruiting. They might be on vacation, they might be taking time off of social media. Okay, so that's part of the limitations that you want to think through. Now let's talk about permissions. There are 2 parts to the permissions. First of all, you do not need permission from LinkedIn or from Facebook, Meta, Corporate to post into the groups. What you do need is permission from the group administrators, okay, from any group that you want to post into. There's not a scripted way to ask for this permission, but you can simply introduce yourself, state that you're going to be doing a dissertation study and would like to post your survey link into the group. Do you have their permission to do so? You could even give them an estimated time frame. You think it'll be approximately 6 months from now or in the fall. Kind of give them a sense for when it will be able, or when you'll be able to post it. And oftentimes they'll just respond with yes or yep, happy to post it. Thank you for asking. And that's all that you need, is just a simple positive response from them. In addition to getting the permissions, you do have to populate your appendices. So any permissions that you receive from group administrators, you need to include those screenshots in your appendix. And the way that I did it is I organized it by group name, here's the permission. Next group name, here's the screenshot of the permission. And you want to do this with all of the groups that you request permission from, whether you use them all as your plan A or if you save some of them for your plan B with your recruitment strategy. Okay, so you might start with 4 and then have an additional 2 that you would add if you don't get your sample size. You also need to include screenshots of the social media site's privacy policies. So go into terms and conditions, go in and look at anything that talks about privacy of the users of the social media sites. Screenshot that and include that in your appendix so that you are fully aware of what the rules and guidelines are from the social media corporate perspective. Okay? I hope this is helpful for you and gives you some ideas and information about how to approach using social media for recruiting. And good luck writing your dissertation.